Come on, we got all these boats, right? We got our church boat and their church boat. Us and them. We got the saved and the unsaved boat. It doesn't say Jesus died for the saved. Jesus died for everyone, putting everyone, this is what Paul's saying, in the same boat. Included everyone. He had everyone in mind. Whether we agree with him or don't agree with him, whether we believe in him or don't believe in him, he had everyone in mind when he was on that cross. So that everyone could be included. Everyone. Okay, we're not getting this yet. Everyone. Just think of the other boat that you like the least. Even the country music boat. That's the part of heaven I'm skipping. I was just saying. I'll be on the other side. No, just kidding. Every boat. Come on. We got our boats, right? And we want God to get them in their boat. He's like, no, I died for them too. So that we could be included in his life. Then he says this, a resurrection life, a far better life than people ever lived on their own. Which, think about who he's writing to. Like, he's writing to people who are losing their jobs because they're Christians, they believe in Jesus. People who are losing their lives because they believe in Jesus. People who are losing their family members and their loved ones because they believe in Jesus. And he's saying, come on, he's saying it's a far better life. And they're like, Paul, you're writing this from prison. Think about your life, Paul. A far better life? You were one of the most rich, powerful, prominent leaders in society before you got into the Jesus boat. And then you got into the Jesus boat and you lost your position, you lost your power, you lost your wealth, and you lost your freedom because Paul's writing this from prison. And you say, Paul, it's a far better life? Huh? Why? Why can you say that? He says it right here. He goes, because of this decision to make Jesus the center, we don't evaluate people by what they have or how they look. Come on, Christians. Because we are Christians, because we make the decision to make Jesus the center, we no longer judge people by what they have or have not, or how they look or they don't look. Come on, like we don't do that anymore. That's what he's saying. Come on, is that convicting? Because, man, society, we judge our entire societies based on what people have or have not. Our entire society is based on how people look or don't look. Entire industries are based on changing the way you look. Because if you can change the way you look, you can be accepted, or so we're sold or taught. But he says that in the church, we don't do that. As Christians, we don't do that. And I'm convicted because I was like, is the culture, because of this decision, is the culture in here that much different than the culture out there? It should be. Because look at, part of the far better life is that when you come into the Jesus boat, is that you're not going to be judged by these things anymore. That's better. Right? Because of this decision. We no longer evaluate people as society does. Because look at, and then Paul goes on, he says, we looked at Jesus that way. And that way once and got it all wrong, as you know. He says, we looked at Jesus that way and got it all wrong. In other words, the church, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the church and the Jews who grew up being taught the Messiah, the Messiah, the Messiah, the Messiah, everything was about the Messiah, they missed the Messiah being right in their midst because they were looking for the Messiah in the same eyes society did. They were looking for someone with power, and he came as a servant. They were looking with someone with wealth, and he didn't even have a place to lay his head. It says they were looking for someone completely different. They were looking for what society, they were looking for a ruler who would overthrow Rome. And he got crucified by the Romans. They looked, and because they were looking with society's eyes, they missed God in their midst. And I'm just wondering, come on, as Christians, if we are to look, if we evaluate and judge one another, we can miss God too in the situations because we're looking with the same eyes society looks at. Says we don't look at him that way anymore. You think? Why? Because he rose again from the dead. And they went, oh. He says, now look at this. He says, now we look inside. And what we see is that anyone united with the Messiah gets a fresh start, is created new. Whew, that's good. Right? They judged Jesus by his appearance, and they missed him. He says, no, we don't do that. We don't even judge, come on, we don't even judge people by their sin anymore. And what degrees of sin they have, and identify people with their sins or their past or their all these. We don't do that no more. Because we look inside. We don't create separate boats because of someone's sin. Jesus changed all that. We now look inside because someone who makes the decision gets a fresh start and is created new. This is why we have a far better life. Right? That's good. Then he says this, the old life is gone, a new life emerges. Look at it. It all comes from God who settled the relationship between us and him. All this is not anything that we did. Right? It's not the way that we changed our looks, not changed, our church we attended. It's not that we changed our sin patterns or all the rest of it. That's not what, it's that God changed the whole atmosphere. He settled the relationship between us and him. When Jesus died on the cross, this firm decision, we agree with that changed everything. That settled it. So that means that everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's in the same boat. It's not about sin anymore. It's not about, well, you sin worse than my sin, so you can't be in my boat no more. Jesus settled all that. Right? So what happens if he settles the relationship with us and him? What happens? He goes, all this comes from God who settled the relationship between us and him and then, called us to settle our relationship with each other.